Hi, I'm the Dungeon Designer. Welcome to World Building 101. Whether you're crafting a world for D&D, writing a fantasy novel, or just diving into a creative project, I like to start with geography. From towering mountains that divide kingdoms to dense forests hiding ancient secrets, geography lays the foundation for all the stories your world would tell. In this video, we're going to explore how to build your world from the ground up. First things first, every great world starts with a concept. Think of this question when you start. What kind of world are you building? Is it a land torn by war, divided by treacherous mountains, or maybe it's this huge, lush, enchanted forest, filled with this ancient magic? Your concept is what drives the geography, shaping everything from the placement of biomes or the cultures that will call it home. To start, think about your world's primary conflict or theme. For example, if your world is built around isolation and survival, you might want a continent surrounded by dangerous seas or harsh deserts separating different civilizations. If magic is more your central focus, maybe an enchanted forest or floating island should dominate the landscape. Let's look at real examples from some iconic fantasy worlds using geography to tell their stories. In the Witcher series, the continent's geography is more than just a backdrop. The vast wilderness, treacherous swamps, and sprawling mountain ranges all play a role in shaping the story. For example, the Skellige Isles, rugged, isolated, and surrounded by dangerous seas, created a culture of fierce warriors who are expert sailors. Geography here isn't just scenery, it defines the characters and cultures, driving home themes of isolation, resilience, and survival. Now take The Lord of the Rings. Middle-earth's geography is almost like a character itself. The journey from the Shire to Mordor is filled with perilous mountain passes, enchanted forests, and deadly swamps. But notice how each region reflects the tone of the story. The lush green hills of the Shire invoke comfort and innocence, while the barren wastelands of Mordor echo themes of decay and corruption. Tolkien didn't just draw a map, he used geography to deepen the narrative, creating a living world that feels real, immersive, and rich in history. When you're building your world, keep these examples in mind. Geography isn't just a setting, it's an integral part of the narrative. It shapes the cultures, conflicts, and the very essence of your world's story. Once you have your theme, sketch out your world's main landmass. Start simple. Don't worry about the details yet. We'll get to those later. Is it a simple sprawling continent, an archipelago, a series of islands scattered across vast oceans? Keep your shapes organic and natural. As you design, let your world's story guide where mountains, rivers, and coastlines go. Now that we have the foundation, it's time to breathe life into your world with biomes and natural landmarks. Geography isn't just about drawing land. It's also about deciding where life thrives and where it struggles to survive. Biomes like deserts, forests, tundras, and plains all contribute to the feel of your world. Start by placing large biomes across your map. Deserts often form near mountains where rain doesn't reach. Dense forests can be fed by rivers, and plains are perfect for fertile farmland. Keep in mind the consistency is key. Your world should feel logical even if it's fantastical. For instance, arid desert next to a frozen tundra might need an explanation rooted in your world's lore. That doesn't stop you from doing it, but just keep that in mind. Once your biomes are in place, start adding key landmarks, mountain ranges that separate kingdoms, rivers that flow through major cities, and forests that hide ancient ruins. These features aren't decorations, they're the backbone of your world's culture and history. A vast desert could create isolationist societies, while a rich river valley might give rise to powerful trade empires. Keep all of these things in mind while you're doing these biomes. Now that you've laid out your biomes and natural landmarks, it's time to bring your world to life with regions and points of interest. These are the places where your stories happen, the kingdoms, city-states, mysterious ruins, and sacred sites that make your world unique. Let's break these down into 4 steps, starting with step 1, defining the regions. Think of regions as different countries, territories, or provinces in your world. They're not just lines on a map, they're areas that define the cultures, resources, and power structures within your world. Start by considering how geography divides your land naturally. Mountain ranges, rivers, and deserts create natural borders between regions. For example, a kingdom might be nestled safely within a valley surrounded by mountains, while a desert might isolate a distant kingdom. Each region should feel distinct and contribute to your world's overall story. Ask yourself, what's the primary resource or conflict in this region? How do people here interact with the environment? Is there a kingdom known for its iron mines and mountains, or a coastal city-state that thrives on trade? By defining these traits, you create regions that feel alive and dynamic. Step 2, defining points of interest. Once your regions are in place, it's time to sprinkle in points of interest. These are landmarks that make your world feel intriguing and memorable. Think of points of interest as adventure hotspots in your world. These could be ancient ruins, enchanted forests, bustling cities, or cursed castles. When placing these points, consider how they might connect to your world's history and current conflicts. For example, an abandoned fortress might be a remnant of an ancient war. Try to mix up the types of points of interest you include. Not every landmark needs to be dangerous or mysterious. Include places that are hubs of culture or commerce as well. A grand library in the capital city could be as compelling as a hidden dungeon deep in the forest. These places can be centerpieces of your adventures or background elements that flesh out your world. Now we go into step 3, connecting regions and points of interest. Now that we have our regions and our points of interest, think about how they're connected. Major trade routes, mountain passes, and riverways don't just shape travel, they impact politics, culture, and economy. For example, a trade route connecting 2 major cities could be lined with villages that rely on the traffic, while a perilous mountain pass might only be used for smugglers or daring adventurers. Geography often dictates relationship between regions. A fertile valley might lead to prosperous farming communities and stable kingdoms, while a mountain fortress could create a culture of isolation and defense. By thinking about how your world's regions interact, you create a more believable and immersive setting where everything feels connected. Step 4, our final step, adding depth to regions with subregions and locales. Finally, let's dig a little deeper by adding subregions and local details. These can include smaller territories like duchies, baronies, or tribal lands within your larger regions. Maybe there's a forest that's considered neutral ground between 2 rival kingdoms, or a mining town that only answers to a local warlord. That level of detail is where your kingdom comes alive. Each subregion can have its own unique character. Independent city with its own laws and customs, or a rural area dominated by a powerful noble house. Remember, world building is all about layering. Start with these broad strokes, your land masses and biomes, then narrow your focus as you go. By the end, you'll have a world filled with distant regions, rich cultures, and points of interest that practically beg to be explored. Keep in mind that world building takes time. It's not something you'll do in a day. Things change. Everything's not written in stone. In our next video surrounding world building, we'll dive deeper into bringing your regions to life by designing cultures and civilizations. Until next time, I'm the Dungeon Designer.